Let's enlarge the discussion, and we bring back from Newsmax New York, Steve Malzberg and Rick Unger, and via telephone from way out west, it's our good friend Michael Reagan. As always, you can find and follow Michael Reagan on Twitter at Reagan World. So, Michael, from your purview there on the West Coast, what's your reaction to the results tonight in the Republican primary?
Well, I'm not surprised by the reaction or surprised by what's going on in New Hampshire tonight. But it is interesting. I was thinking to myself, everybody's talking about these different lanes. There's really two lanes. There's the Trump lane and everyone else. And that everyone else better find who's going to run that lane against Donald Trump if indeed they want to wrestle away the nomination of the Republican Party.
Rick Unger, of course, Michael Reagan's dad was a governor before going to the White House. The whole gubernatorial-senatorial dichotomy was the theme of Saturday night's debate. As we take a look at John Kasich's headquarters in Concord and now Donald Trump's headquarters in Manchester, awaiting those two candidates to come out with a veritable parade of others. Rick Unger, my question to you tonight, did that whole appeal to a governor's know-how and making tough decisions may not have worked for Chris Christie, but did it redound to the benefit of John Kasich?
I think what really helped Kasich was his performance at the debate Saturday night and Marco Rubio's crashing and burning at that same debate. Kasich has been running the only truly positive campaign in the Republican field. And I think that's something that people up in New Hampshire like. They relate to it. I believe he's spent more time in the state than anybody, possibly Chris Christie may have done just as much time. Kasich earned a second place if that's where he ends up, and not surprising to see him get it. I think the question now, though, becomes on the governor's side. You've got him and you've got Rubio going forward. I think Christie is probably pretty much done. Is it going to matter once we get down into South Carolina and beyond? They do tend to like governors in those states. The Kasich, I think Steve said it earlier, and I think I agree with him. It's hard to see how he goes much further than this.
Steve Malzberg, let me ask you about the curious case of Marco Rubio and expectations coming out of Iowa with that number 3 finish. Then the debate Saturday, then just this afternoon, somebody stalking his campaign, trolling his campaign as Rubio the robot ran into a little unpleasantness with Marco's supporters. Is this something that just he's going to have to take a mulligan on and get ready for South Carolina?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think he was treated unfairly. It was Christie who kept repeating the same thing over and over and over. Rubio was trying to make a point, and everybody was mocking him, including Trump, I might add, that Barack Obama knows exactly what he's doing. And he does. He's not an idiot. He knows exactly what he's doing. The Middle East isn't the way it is by accident. The economy isn't the way it is by accident. The appointments he makes aren't by accident. He knows the executive orders aren't by accident. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he could have handled it in a better manner, but he was making a very cogent point and went on to have a great debate after that. But of course, the media, just like the time when I was grabbing for a bottle of water, it's not here, just like when he gave a rebuttal and he grabbed a bottle of water, no matter what he said, no matter what his life story was, no matter where his parents came from, he took a sip of water. So that's the media, and I think some people were affected by that.
I don't think the problem was how good the answer was. The problem was if somebody says, what color is that chair, and you answer it with your Obama speech, people are going to notice.
Now, to the extent, that's right. It's very different, though, Stephen. Let me bring in Michael Reagan on this because...
If I could...
Go ahead.
I even tweeted about this at Reagan World because the media did buy into the narrative put forward by Chris Christie. The media could have gone out there and said, listen, every candidate repeats lines, jokes, and everything else that works for them during a campaign. I mean, the Secret Service used to sit there and look at their watches, and when Dad hit a certain speech or a certain spot in his speech, they would radio to the cars, be ready in 3 minutes, be ready in 5 minutes. I mean, Ronald Reagan wasn't memorization. It was utilization every day, over and over and over again. I think Marco Rubio was treated truly unfairly by the media. I agree with Steve, but he didn't know how to overcome
Well,
what was going
here's
on.
the thing. Let me bring in Dick Morris on this as well. It's one thing to have message discipline. It's another thing to be arguing a point to the past. Yeah, Mike's dad ran against an incumbent, Jimmy Carter. Marco Rubio, as much disdain as there is for Mr. Obama, the campaign is not against Mr. Obama right now.
Well, I don't
1
think
minute to answer
I don't think
this.
it bore on what he said. It just bore on the fact that he repeated himself again. And then he gave it that there were actually 3 moments in the debate where Rubio was set back. That was one. The second came over his why he lost the immigration bill, why he didn't push that through. And then there was a third moment about 10 minutes later going back to the immigration bill. And he looked pathetic in those answers. After that, he had a good performance. But those 3 answers that basically came about 30 and 40 and 60 minutes into the debate, I think destroyed him as surely as Rick Perry not remembering which 4 agencies he wanted to eliminate.
And perhaps the more crucial criticism from Chris Christie was, wait, he's stepping away from the Gang of 8 bill.
Yeah.
He actually got that going, which brings us back to something we talked about a week ago, which is this amnesty thing can end up hurting Marco Rubio.